You ruined my last video. You won't do it again. Hi guys, this is Pluto. You probably remember him from my last video. Yeah, he's not gonna ruin it this time, so make him sit right next to me. Right here to talk. Okay, me and Rob haven't done a video in about 2 weeks. The reason for this is because he's in Pennsylvania. His wife is from there, so they go there, you know, for Christmas. At least this is their first year married, so they are this year. Anyway, I wanted to keep you guys a little up to date with some content, you know, just because, you know, I don't want you guys to think that we've disappeared or vanished. And the thing that I'm really making this video about is going to be my top 5 for 2015. I'm not going to tell you what they're going to be because I am waiting for the very end of the year to do so, but I am going to tell you what albums I'm picking from. This year was incredible with albums. Literally incredible. There have been so many albums I thought I was going to not have enough to pick from, and as the year went on, bands that I love just kept pumping out CDs, and it just kept getting better and better and better. I'm boring you already? Before I do that, I also want you guys to know that we are going to start interviewing people. We have an awesome roster of people that we're going to be interviewing very soon. Some really cool surprises. But, you know, we're still trying to hone in on what exactly we want to talk about when we're doing the redesign. You know, it's been a little bit abstract, a little bit more of a free-for-all. But we're starting to kind of hone in on what those, you know, what the actual topics are going to be, a little bit better planning, and that's kind of what we're going to go with. While we do this, we're going to be continuously pumping out, you know, little music videos. I promise better quality will be coming out very soon. And also we're going to start doing the short movies and videos that we were talking about in our intro video. So let's get to what I originally wanted this podcast to be about, and that is going to be what albums of this year are going to be going into my top 5. Okay, so number 1, and this came out the very top of the year, started the new year off actually, was Fall Out Boy, American Beauty, American Psycho. I love Fall Out Boy. They are one of my all-time favorite bands. I think Patrick Stump is one of the best singers to have ever been out there. And I think Pete Wentz is an incredible lyricist. With their last 2 albums, I've been a little bit underwhelmed. I definitely think this album is much better than their comeback album. In fact, I think that's kind of why they put it out first. I really think that it's a good album. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, it's in my running. So for it to be in my running, it's got to be good. I wish kind of like all old school Fall Out Boy came back. I don't necessarily mean take this to your grave, Fall Out Boy. I mean like I would. One of my favorite albums from them is Infinity on High. So you know, really any of the Fall Out Boy from the first 4 albums really is what I'm looking for. But again, this album was great. Uma Thurman was super powerful. You know, really, like I said, it came out in the top of the year and resonated all year. You could still turn on any of those top radio stations and still hear it. I believe it's still even on the Billboard. So I mean, that's a strong song, you know what I mean? Immortals came out with Big Hero 6. The album itself, in total, as an album, is very strong. I really, really like it. Anyway, moving on, because I don't want to take too long on each of these songs. Enter Shikari, The Mind Sweep. This album is really great, too. I love Enter Shikari. I think that they are very, very talented in their writing. Also, I think that they do an awesome blend of screamo, pop punk, and you know, techno / dubstep. They were one of the first bands to be out doing it. I remember with their first song, Sorry You're Not a Winner. It was awesome, and every album that has come out has just like, it never fails to amaze me with what they can do. From the songs that they originally put out before the album even came out, when you pre-ordered it, the anesthesiast, they call it the anesthetist, but they're also British, so that might be a British thing. But That song, The Last Garrison, is incredible. And then they end the album with Slipshod, and Slipshod 2 is just an awesome song from start to finish. It's very powerful. Once again, they don't let up on the comedy, but at the same time, their lyrics are always very meaningful. They're very, they're very anti the establishment, which as a punk, I am automatically very into. But that they always kind of blend it with humor, and I think that that's really cool. In Slipshod, when you hear it, it's like, oh, it's this ridiculous song about like these guys going to eat somewhere and complaining, and it just kind of goes out of control. But at the heart of the song, you're listening to it and you're like, wow, this is not actually about a bunch of guys walking to a restaurant. This is actually about consumerism and the way that consumers treat the people who are serving them, and how the servers treat the consumer. It's really, really awesome to listen to. But that album is an awesome album. I definitely recommend it. I recommend all these albums, by the way. Number 3, Emery, You Were Never Alone. This album is so good. This album is so good. I have been an Emery fan not since their first album, but definitely their second album. I first heard Studying Politics when I was going to see a Red Jumpsuit Apparatus show, and I was trying to learn about the other bands and the other bands that were on the act, and Emery was one of them, and I just fell in love with them. I thought they were so good, the way that they blend a very, Toby's voice is very melodic, they mix it with the screaming, and I just think that that's awesome. This album goes through a bunch of, I hope they don't get mad at me, but I guess it's out there anyway. It goes through a bunch of different Bible stories. Each one is a story out of the Bible, and I think that was so awesome to make, and I have some ideas that I really hope I can connect with them on and see if they'll let me do some stuff. But let's see. Toby, Matt, even Joey, if you're listening to this, please respond to my email. You're going to hear me talk about Bad Christian a lot. I really like them. Silverstein, I Am Alive in Everything I Touch. This album, I've never been into Silverstein, ever. Never really had an interest in them. I don't even know if their old albums are like this album. But this album was phenomenal. Again, I'm super into pop punk, I'm super into screamo. You're going to see that from the rest of this list. They blended screamo and pop punk in such a perfect blend. Like, I can't even describe to you how awesome this album is. The hooks in it, just everything about it was just perfect. It was a perfect blend of everything, and it blew me away. From the moment I heard the commercial on Bad Christian, I immediately was just like, I have to get this album. I immediately pre-ordered it, and it has not disappointed me at all. It's a great album. Hit the Lights, Summer Bones. Hit the Lights has always been one of my favorite bands. They're another one that mixes pop punk great with just a great heaviness. It's very rare that you find a band, modern day band, that is heavy without screaming, or without like going into like a crabcore breakdown. Hit the Lights has always been very heavy, like innately heavy. They, working these heavy chugging chords, and the very pop punk voice of Nick Thompson. I just think like it works so perfectly together, blends so well together. They've had a very hard time releasing an album in a while. Their last album before this, Invictus, I wasn't super fond of. I wasn't super blown away by it. It was kind of on the mellow side. But the album before that, Skip School, Start Fights, was just phenomenal. Just, like, talk about like an album that you can literally listen to from beginning to end without skipping it. It was so great. This album reminds me a lot of that. While there aren't as many awesome songs as there were on Skip School, this album definitely went back to who they are and what they do best. And I like I said, from the very moment that the album opens up, it really just kicks you flat on your ass. My favorite song on the album, Revolutions and Executions, is just perfectly executed. It's heavy, it's, you know, in your face, and it's just got a really awesome, you know, vibe to it. It's really awesome. If I can get a drummer good enough, I'm definitely going to be covering that song. Hollywood Undead, Day of the Dead. Hollywood Undead always delivers with what you're looking for. They always give you what you want, and that's awesome. I've never like listened to them and been like, that's not really them. They always have a song that's very not rap metal. You know, they do like a folk song or kind of a poppy sounding song, and it's always one of my favorite songs on the album. But they're very like, I want to hear rap metal. Hollywood Undead is going to deliver with their new album, you know? There's never been an album that has come out that I've been like, I'm disappointed, doesn't really sound like them, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not talking about artist growth. Listen, that's a whole other episode that we can talk about artist growth. I'm not meaning artist growth. I'm not talking about like, oh, Fall Out Boy is doing a different type of music because they outgrew their old style. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about they know their fan base, they know what they do well, and they continue to deliver. I will say that there is nothing that you listen to about it and be like, oh, that blew my mind, because you're getting exactly what you expected you're going to get. My brother was saying recently that he was kind of like over them, and he was kind of like, you know, they just keep putting out the same album. Fair enough. I can definitely see where he's coming from that. But the way I feel about it is, sure, it's the same album, but it's just a really long album, and every single song on it is awesome. Party by Myself is one of my favorite songs on the album. I think it's really fun. You guys go with Mommy? Alright, go with Mommy. Owl City, Mobile Orchestra. This album was definitely awesome. I love how Adam is kind of coming forth with his Christianity a little bit more. It's really cool to see a mainstream artist, pop artist, start to do stuff that is worship based. You know, like I saw a meme a little while ago that was like, Owl City song or worship song. Owl City does worship music, and this is not super new. Anyone who's heard his version of what is it called? In Christ Alone, you know that he does worship music, and he does worship music very good, and he's also very, he feels convicted, I guess, to do worship music a lot of the times. His story behind why he did In Christ Alone is an amazing one. I definitely suggest looking into that. But this album, while I do love that about it, did seem a little rushed in its, I don't know if it's in its making or if it's in its listening, but just the album in total seems very quick. It goes by very quick. So I would say that about it. It doesn't really feel like something that was super thought out every single song, but it does definitely have a few gems on it, such as Verge with Aloe Black. I don't know if anybody remembers him from that song, Wake Me Up. He was the guy who did the vocals to that song, and it was originally his song, and Avicii kind of took it over. Another really great song off that album is Back Home, one of my wife's favorites actually. Very country sounding, very folky too in the guitar work. This album is going to be done a little bit differently. It's August Burns' Red new album, and it's called Found in Faraway Places. This is, like I said, August Burns Red, so it's going to be extremely heavy. One of the things about this new album, though, that I love, and they've kind of been doing this more and more as the albums go along, is that they're doing more melodic, slower, softer parts in the middle. Someone told me that they're actually inching more towards progcore, progressive metal and things like that, and that's why they're doing all this very technical stuff. I don't know if that's true. I don't listen to a whole lot of progcore music, but if this is what it is, it's awesome. Also, they bring in Jeremy McKenna from A Day to Remember, and they actually do a song where there's actual singing in it, not screaming, which I've been saying that they should do since I started listening to August Burns Red. They're definitely very heavy. The guitars are usually what carries the melody, and I think it's really cool that they're adding this whole new side of the band where it's very intense, very slow, very powerful sections of the songs. So, like I said, it's going to be rated a little bit differently. One of the main things is just with hooks. August Burns Red doesn't have hooks, so I had to rate it a little bit differently. But definitely worth a listen. 5 Seconds of Summer. Sounds good, feels good. They are back again on my top list, you know, or you know, possible list, I guess you could say. This album really just, it was awesome from the get-go. Also, from She's Kinda Hot to Airplanes to Hey Everybody, it's just a great album. They definitely learned from their pals in One Direction about making a song sound like another song. You know, Hey Everybody is basically Hungry Like the Wolf. But the album definitely has a great drive, a great energy to it. I'm hoping that these guys can bring pop punk back to the mainstream. Guys, if you're listening to this, please do it. You guys are doing a great job. Keep going, because I'm really hoping that these guys will bring that back. You know, pop punk kind of what it was pop for a while through most of the mid to late 2000s, and kind of has just died. There's no scene anymore, and it's really sad. The only bands that are still there are the bands that, you know, we were listening to back in the day, like most of the bands on this list, or a lot of the bands on this list. One Direction, Made in the AM. I know a lot of people are going, wait, what? August Burns Red and One Direction on the same album is sacrilege. Nope, I'm not gonna listen to them. You can't make me. And then there are people on the other album going, this guy likes One Direction, and he also likes that band, August Burns Red. Yes, I do. I think that people don't give One Direction an honest chance. I think that their first album, well, even still, a lot of those songs are good. It was very poppy, very boy bandy, but their sound changed with Midnight Memories. Midnight Memories sounds like a classic rock album. If you like Van Halen, if you like Def Leppard, if you like those 80s heavy rock bands, Midnight Memories sounds like that. So the only reason that you wouldn't like them is if you felt, oh, it's One Direction and that stigma I can't get over, therefore I do not like that. Get over it. They're a great band. They're awesome singers. Yes, they don't play instruments. They're singers. Okay? I mean, it's a lot better than, you know, which I know everyone loves them now, but Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, who are doing all the insane dance moves live, who barely sang live. These guys are really singing live. They're really doing these you know, these songs in front of people. Whereas these other guys were doing the dances. They refused to dance. They were all doing rock before they got put into One Direction by Simon Cowell. And can you really blame them for going along with it? They're insanely rich now. I remember the first time I heard about them, I was walking through New York City and I saw a bunch of pictures of guys on the Toys R Us store. That is awesome, okay? Be happy for them. Be happy for, you know, 5, now 4 guys who just tried really hard and succeeded. Be happy for them. Don't discourage that. This album is really good. A little bit different from the two before this one. It's a little bit more on the R&B side. So I can't say that it is my #1 album of the year, but it's definitely in the running. It's a great album from beginning to end, and like I said, I think that they're going to keep pumping out singles out of this album for a while. All Time Low, Future Hearts. I so badly wanted to begin this section with They're Back. I'll be honest with you right now, I don't think it's going to be on my top 5. I'm going to give it a few more listens. I'm going to see. All Time Low has changed ever since they got signed to a major label, and I'm not saying that because they're on a major label, they, you know, I don't like them anymore. I am not like that. I hope you can see by the rest of the list that I'm not like that. However, they have changed since they got signed, and I know that they're not on Interscope anymore. But when they got onto Interscope, they're it just set them off on a different direction completely musically. They got onto this major label. They put out a pop album. I Feel Like Dancing was a pop album. A fairly good pop album, but a pop album. It got such bad backlash that they decided, okay, we're gonna go back to, like, so far our roots that it's gonna be ridiculous. They went back to, like, album number 1 sounding stuff, which I like album number 1, but not nearly as much as Nothing Personal. Nothing Personal still to this day is my favorite album by them. And when they went back to their roots of the whole punk sounding stuff, they forgot something that made them great, and that's their sense of humor and their fun factor in their music. There's no more fun factor. It's gone. Period. There's literally nothing funny, nothing happy-go-lucky in this album. I will say that the album is better than the one before it. It's a little bit more upbeat, a little bit more happier than the prior one, but it's still not amazing. It just it bothers me a lot because All Time Low was literally one of my favorite bands, following in the footsteps of Fall Out Boy, and then they kind of just. And I definitely suggest listening to this album. It's got a lot of great, I guess you could say, hidden gems. I hope they come back with the next album, but this just isn't their We're Back album. But it starts off really great, kind of trails off toward the end. But again, I definitely suggest listening to it because it does have a lot of great songs on it. Suburban Legends, Forever in the Friend Zone. I've never heard of Suburban Legends. Ever. Still to this day, don't know anything about them. Don't know any of their other albums except for one. A little while ago, I was, thinking, and I'm going to I was thinking about covering Beauty and the Beast, and I was listening to other covers of Beauty and the Beast to kind of get some ideas of how I can go about this. Suburban Legends came out with an album. It's like 5, 6 songs, all Disney songs, and they're all pop, punk, ska, Disney songs. It's so good. The album is so good, and because of that, I went and looked into them a little bit more, and they came out with an album this year, and that's called Forever in the Friend Zone. This album is so good. It's so good. If you like ska and you like pop punk type, the kind of stuff like Less Than Jake, just bands in that vein of music, you will love this band. They are they're very funny, just like any ska band would be, that's in this style. They're very, they got that, reggae type, guitars and pop punk sound, and I just can't get over how great this album is. While they are still funny, they also have a very serious, musically serious, I shouldn't say serious, not serious and like, we're going to discuss life, death, and the meaning of life, but like, they are very serious in the way that they take their music very seriously. And I think that that's great. And also, one thing that distinguishes them between other ska bands, and they might have 2 singers, I think that they do, but one of the singer sings most of the time, is great. Most ska bands do not have great singers. I don't know if you listen to a whole lot of pop punk ska, it's really like third wave ska. Not very strong on the singers. These guys are great. Their songs have hooks. Like I said, they'll make you laugh, but they're not cheesy. I just can't get over it. Listen to this album. Listen to this album. It's so good. 4 Years Strong. 4 Years Strong. This album definitely has a comeback potential. Their album before this was very cock rock. It was, alternative, I would say. It wasn't them at all. And I heard that they have kind of outgrew this style of music, and they kind of want to be doing Mumford & Sons type folk, which might explain a lot of it, but this album goes right back to their roots. It sounds like one of their original albums. and that's great. It's really a fun album. I can't really go much into it because, I mean, if you know 4 Year Strong and you listen to 4 Year Strong, you know what the album is going to be like. It really is a great album. I definitely suggest listening to it. From the titles of the songs that are funny to the actual songs themselves, just awesome. You know, going back to like what I said about the lights, very few bands can be heavy without screaming, or without you know, doing these insane heavy breakdown type stuff. They do breakdowns, and they even do scream a little bit, but it's a little bit different. And I definitely suggest listening to this album. It is really good. Ghost Ship, Costly. If you like worship music, you're gonna like this album. I don't have to go much more into it. I'm trying to hurry up if you don't know that. My wife is trying to get me off. If you listen to worship music, this is a great album. Definitely another thing that I would recommend. It's kind of stereotypical worship with a little bit of a folkier twist. I'm very, very, very into contemporary Christian worship music. It's awesome. A lot of my acoustic sounding stuff comes from my experience being in a worship band. If you are in a worship band at your church, I definitely suggesting to everybody to listen to this album because it really is awesome, and you're going to get a lot of songs that you can play at church. Bonus albums. Okay, so these are my 2 last bonus albums, and I'm putting them on here because I definitely think that they deserve, but at the same time they are not full albums, so I can't count them in my top 5 for 2015. Number 1 is The Devil Wears Prada, Space. This album is great. It's reminiscent of Zombies, which I don't know if you listened to the Zombies EP, but it was also great. I probably like Zombies a little bit better than this one, but I loved this album. I haven't listened to Devil Wears Prada in a very long time, probably since the Zombies album, and when I heard this and I listened to it, I felt like, they're back, baby. I immediately felt like just in that comfort zone of I'm listening to the Devil Wears Prada, and you know, I don't know how to say his last name, Mike Franca? I don't know. But you hear his vocals and you're just like, I am listening to the Devil Wears Prada. This album is so good. This EP is so good. I definitely suggest taking a listen to it, just like all the other things that I said on this list. But it is just, it's just so good. Not very Christian-y lyrics, you know, if anyone knows Devil Wears Prada, they know that they are a Christian band. You know, this, just like Zombies, doesn't have a whole lot of, you know, Christian elements. It's mainly about aliens coming to Earth and, you know, the insanity that ensues, just like in Zombies. It's about zombies happening and craziness ensues. But I definitely suggest listening to that too because it is awesome. And the last EP, and the last one on this list, The Vocal Few, The Dream Alive. This is another great EP. I suggest you go and buy it right now. Buy the LP, buy the album. It is so good. These guys are a husband and wife duo that, you know, if anyone listened to the Classic Crime, it's the singer from the Classic Crime and his wife, just doing indie at its best. That's really what it is. They have very dark, melodic songs, and I definitely suggest, you know, picking it up and then listening to it and supporting them. Anyway, guys, thank you for listening to the songs that I'm going to be picking out of for top 5. I know it's been a long video. Most of you probably didn't even watch the whole thing. But thank you if you did, and please, guys, go support the Redesign. Add us on Facebook, subscribe down below, and Instagram, Vine, and Twitter at Redesign Pod. I love you guys. God bless in later days.